Hello, so today my topic is Introduction to Operating System. So today's agenda are what does operating system do, kernel data structure, computing environment, and also open source of operating system. So what does operating system do? So what does operating system do? So what does first thing first is what is an operating system? An operating system is a program that acts as an interface between the computer user and the computer hardware and controls the execution of the program. So what does the operating system do? So the operating system manages all of the software on the computer. And it also performs basic tasks such as file, memory, and process management, handling input and output, controlling peripheral devices such as drives and devices such as disks and printers. Next, also operating system also have several different computer programs running at the same time, and they all need to access the computer central processing unit, which is CPU, memory, and also storages. Operating system can be divided into four components, which are hardware, operating system, application program, and also users. For hardware, hardware provides basic computing resources such as CPU, memory, and other devices. While for operating systems, it controls and coordinates use of hardware among various applications and also users. For system and application programs, it uses of computing resources to solve computing problems. And sys- system application programs also consist of a word processor, compilers, web browser, database system, and also video games. Now for user, there are various services such as people, machine, and other computers. There are two viewpoints of us, which are user view and also system view. For user view, there are single user at terminal connected to mainframe, and user at workstation connected to network and servers. So for the CV user, it is to maximize the work that the user is performing and design to ease of use, average performance, not so much in resources utilization. Meanwhile, for the user at terminal, it is connected to user at terminal connected to mainframe, which is for other user are accessing the same computer through other terminal, which to maximize resources utilization. And it is also as share resources, exchange information, assure available CPU time, memory, I/O are used efficiently. So lastly, for user view is user at workstation, which connected to network and server. So it is a compromise between individual usability and resources utilization. They also have resources at their workstation, but shared resources are uh, such as networking and service, which are print service. So for system view, there are consists of two, which is resources allocator, which resource allocator act as manager of resources, CPU time, memory space, file storage space, and I/O devices. It is also to allocate the separate resources of the computer as needed to solve the problem given. The allocation process should be as fair and efficient as possible. For control program, it is to control I/O devices and user programs. It also to manage execution of user programs to prevent errors and improper use of the computer. There are more common definition of operating system. It is operating system the one program running at all times on the computer, and usually it is called as kernel. So kernel has two types of programs, which are system programs and also application programs. For system programs, it is associated with operating system, but not part of kernel. Meanwhile, application programs is all programs, but not associated with operating system. So now let's get into kernel data structure. So now let's get into kernel data structure. So now let's get into kernel data structure. The kernel components. The kernel stores and organizes all the information. So it has data about which processes are running in the system, their memory requirement, file in use, and etc. To handle all this, three important structures are used. These are process table, file table, and vnode or inode information. So for the process table, it is for store information about all the process running in the system. This includes the storage information, execution status, file information, and many more. When a process for a child, its entry in the process table is duplicated, including the file information, the file pointers. So the parent and the child process share a file. So for file table, the file table contains entries about all the files in the system. If two or more processes are used the same file, then they contain the same file information and the file descriptor number. Each file table entry contains information about the file, such as file status, which is file read or file write, file offset, and more. The file offset specifies the position for next read or write into the file. The file table also contains vnode and inode pointer which point to the virtual node, the index node, respectively. This node contains information on how to read a file. And lastly, for vnode and inode tables, both the vnode and inode are reference to the storage system of the file and the storage mechanism. They connect the hardware to the software. The vnode is an abstract concept that defines the method of access file data without worrying about the actual structure of the system. The inode specifies the file access information like file storage devices, read or write procedures, and etc. Now we are entering computing environment. Now we are entering computing environment. Now we are entering computing environment. For computing environment, there are two of traditional computer, which are office environment and also home network. So office environment is the PCs connected to a network, terminals attached to a mainframe, or mini computers providing batch and time sharing. Now, portals allow network and remote system access to same resources. For home network, it is used to be single system, then modems. Now, firewall network. There are also client-server computing, which is two machines are involved, which is client machines and server machine. Sometimes, same machine also serves as client and server. Client requests sources or service, and server provides the respective sources or services. A server can provide service to multiple clients at a time, and here mainly communication happens through the computer network. There are also peer-to-peer computing, which is another model of distributed system, and peer-to-peer does not distinguish client and servers. Instead, all nodes are considered peers, and it may each act as client, server, or both. Node must join peer-to-peer network, and it has to register its service with central lookup service on network or broadcast requests for service and response to requests for service by discovery protocol. There are also web-based computing, which are more devices become network to allow web access. And its new category of devices to manage web traffic among similar servers, which are load balancer. Use of operating system like Windows 95 client side have evolved into Linux and Windows XP, which can be clients and server. And now let's see for the open source operating system. And now let's see for the open source operating system. So for the open source operating system, it is made available in source code format rather than just binary code source. Contrary to the copy protection and digital right management (DRM) movement, it started by Free Software Foundation, which has copyleft, GNU Public License (GPL), and for example, it include GNU or Linux, BSD, Unix, including core of Mac OS X and some Solaris. Other than that, open source refers to the computer software or application where the owners or copyright holders allows the user or third party to see, use, and provide the right to modify the source code of the product. An open source operating system is the operating system in which source code is visible publicly and editable. The generally known operating system like Microsoft Windows, Apple's iOS, and macOS are closed operating systems. So how does open source operating system works? Open source refers to the computer software or application where the owners or copyright holders allows the user or third party to see, use, and provide the right to modify the source code of the product. For example, in a proprietary, which is closed operating system, the information is kept and stored. The closed operating system is such as Windows and Mac OS. The same happens in the open source, but since the source code is visible to users and only users can understand the process and alter the way information is processed. The type of open source operating system. Most of the open source operating system are Linux based. So Linux kernel is created by Linus Torvalds. It provides the core function needed for an operating system, the processing of data, processing of memory, and interaction with the computer hardware. Linux is open source. Many developers studied the source code and created many supportive plugins and operating system for their needs. Though Linux is the heart of operating system, there are also some open source operating systems that are not based on Linux. There are infinite of open source as of course, and if one has enough technical and programming, say if I have enough technical and programming knowledge to understand the code of an open source OS operating system, then I can also create one as per use or companies needed and sell it. So thank you for watching. Until next time, bye.